Hey everybody, this is Will Doggett, founder of From Studio to Stage. I've been shooting videos all day here at Sweetwater, talking a lot about gear, but I want to do a video kind of talking about the foundation of everything I teach. And that's this idea of using backing tracks on stage. And now we often talk about this in a very technical way, like, what gear do I need to make this happen? But I want to talk just kind of philosophical. How do we literally take our songs from the studio to the stage? And that's what I've been teaching students to do, for many, many years now. And so I want to share a couple tips and tricks that I think will help make this happen. So let's say your band just wrapped up recording a brand new album. You've got all of your sessions in your DAW of choice. The very first place to start is to open your songs in your DAW and use your session as kind of a roadmap. So for example, I've got a song loaded here in my DAW. You could see I've got some, each kind of section mapped out here so that I know, okay, so I've got an intro here, I've got a count in, I can see the verse, the chorus. Kind of the first place in taking your songs from the studio to the stage, starting with that map and going, okay, do we want to do the song exactly the way we did it in the studio on the stage? So maybe, it really feels like we could do a couple more choruses. Well, if so, consider duplicating those choruses and creating kind of a scratch track, if you will, in your DAW. Look at the arrangement and go, maybe the intro is too long when we do this live, and we're going to make almost like a radio edit. Maybe consider consolidating that down. But really spend some time either with a producer, a music director, or be your own music director. Work together as a band and go, okay, how do we kind of want this to translate? What's the tempo we want to do this live? Do we want to speed it up, slow it down? Maybe you record it in the studio at a really high key to get kind of the energy that you wanted from vocals, but you realize trying to translate that live is going to be difficult. Then maybe consider dropping the key, changing the tempo of that. And once we get kind of our basic song structure down, we have to do a couple things to make it stage friendly. So the first thing is I want to make sure that my song has a click track with it. Now for the case of this example, I'm just going to go over and I'm going to actually solo my click track in this song so that you can hear it. Now you can use whatever DAW you want, you can use whatever click sound you want, but it's really imperative that we have a clicks track, a metronome. I know some people that use like a shaker sound instead of an actual click or metronome sound. Whatever you have, we need something that's constant. So I'm going to press play for a second just so you can hear this. Now, those of you that are drummers, you're very familiar with this. You've been practicing with a metronome for a while. I want to change the way you think about a click track or metronome, though, when we use this on stage. This is not to keep time, but it's to keep everyone in sync and on the same page. So we've got to make sure we have all of our parts of our song, the original sounds, but it's really important that we have a click track so that everyone can follow along. Now, you typically recorded your song and you just started right in. Maybe you did a fade in of some sort, but in order to keep everyone in sync on stage, we need to create what's called a count in. Okay, so I'm actually going to press play on this song. What you're going to hear is the click count in, which is only heard by the band in their ears, and then the song actually starts. And again, this is so that we can all start together. So take a listen to this.
Drums in, 2, 3, 4. All in, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, so you could tell there, again, we get that click count in that's going to let us know, okay, we're about to start 3, 4, and then we're all in. So make sure your song has a click track, a metronome with it. Make sure you have some sort of count in. Now you also heard a voice talking. Now I highly imagine in the studio, you didn't have someone go in and record and say, drums in. You just sat down and recorded. But when you go to take your songs from the studio to perform them on the stage, you'll find that having a slate track, a cue track, some people call it a guide track, is really, really helpful. Again, the purpose of this, just like the click track, is to keep everyone on the same page. You're gonna go play these songs night after night. You're gonna be exhausted. The first 5 shows, you're giving it your all. By that 6th show, you're running out of energy, you're running out of steam. It's really easy to forget, oh, we start with drums here. Everyone's all in here. Those are little things that help kind of give you, oh yeah, that's what we're supposed to do here. So I'm gonna play it one more time. We're just gonna listen to that little intro section, and I want you to listen to those vocal cues. Now, you could record these, have someone in your band record them. You could hire someone to record these cues for you. But what you wanna do is, again, take that original song as your song map, add your click track in, and then start to add your slate tracks or cue tracks in. So let's listen one more time. Pay attention to the voice that's guiding us through the song now.
Drums in, 2, 3, 4. All in, 2, 3, 4.
Now, another point on this, if you hear it, what you want to do with the slate track or cue track is basically place it a measure before it happens, because it's counting you in. It's cueing you into what's coming up next. I know artists that use this to remind them of lyrics, to remind everyone where to drop in and out, to maybe remind them of, if you're on a bigger show, where pyro hits are going to be. Pyro, stage left. That's a good reminder to not be stage left when those pyro hits help. So you can add all sorts of cues in there to help remind you of things, to help you get through the song, because it's all about confidence. It's all about being able to perform the song confidently, consistently, night after night. Cue tracks will help you do that. Now, final piece of this, and maybe the most important, and this is where, honestly, if I'm speaking honest with you, we can, because we're friends. Sometimes backing tracks gets a bad rap. And you may be someone out there that's watching this and you're going, I'm a real musician, I don't use tracks. I think a lot of times we feel that way because we believe if someone's using tracks, you heard this, the entire band's in there. And if I went later into the verse of the song, you would actually hear the lead vocals. And I think if you've never used tracks before, you may have this assumption that someone's just backstage pressing play and the rest of the band is just kind of faking and it's all about looks. And I wish we'd get back to the good old days when musicians played their real instruments. But this is our starting place, right? Now what we're going to do is we're going to say, okay, what are the sounds from the record that we really want to keep, that helped us go, we had an idea in our head, we captured that. How do we then translate that to the stage? And basically what you want to do is take out what you're going to play live and use the things that you can't replicate live. So perfect examples here. Let me just show you. Let me dive into our session and then we'll kind of listen to this without it. So when I break down our session, the very first thing I'm going to take out is our lead vocal. Now it's really helpful to have it there for rehearsal, particularly if you're doing this as a playback tech, as a music director, working with an artist that's going to get there after the band. It's really helpful to rehearse with the artist's actual lead vocal from the studio so that you can rehearse, everyone knows what's going to happen, and then when they show up, you just mute it, right? So I'm going to mute my vocal there. Next, I'm going to go through and say, okay, what are the instruments, what's the instrumentation that I actually have on stage with me? I'm going to go through and mute that. So for the sake of this song, let's look and see what we have. First, I have a bass player, so I'm going to unmute that. Okay, and then next up we have BGVs. Now for this particular tour, sorry, background vocalists, we don't have the budget to bring BGVs out on the road, so we're gonna leave that in for now. Drums, we have a drummer, so we're actually gonna take that out. Next, thankfully, we're able to tour with a guitar player, so we'll take all of our guitars out. We have a keyboardist, piano player, so we'll take that out. But I'm left with these three remaining tracks. We've got some percussion, we've got some strings, we've got some auxiliary sounds that I wish we could go take a full orchestra out on the road with us, but we just don't have the budget to do. So what we did is we took that original song, looked at our song map, we added our click track, we added our count in, we added our cues, and then we looked at it and said, what are the sounds that we can play live? Let's take those out. What are the sounds that it would be nice to take from the studio that we can't play on the stage? We can't afford to bring those people along, and how do we implement them now? So now let's go back and listen to the same song. We still have our click track, we still have our cues, but now when we press play, listen to how much is gone and what's remaining. So I'm gonna start it from the beginning, let's listen through. I'll let it play a little bit longer at this time.
Drums in 2, 3, 4. All in 2, 3, 4.
So again, you can hear we have that cool kind of mellotron thing. We've got a tambourine thing happening. In no way is what I'm hearing from tracks used to fake something on stage. I took the drums out. The drums are going to be played live. The bass is going to be played live. Guitars, vocals obviously is going to be played live. So what we end up with is the original dream that we had in our head when we walked in the studio. And I have this song that I want to do. It's like a mellotron kind of string thing. I want a percussion thing. We're able to then translate that and take that out on the stage with us, which is really great. Now, final thing I want to mention, obviously don't add parts that you have on stage. If you've got a drummer, if you've got a bassist, don't leave those in the track, right? Take those out and have someone actually play it live. But what if you're a solo artist and you can't afford to take a band out? You can go out with all of these parts. You can send them out as separate outputs using an audio interface like the Play Audio 1U that I have here. Multiple outputs that you could send to your front of house console, and you show up and say, hey, it's just me and some tracks, but I have 12 outputs. And the sound engineer goes, great, I'm gonna mix it just as if it's a band. That's a beautiful part of this. But let's say we do have a band with us, and for whatever reason, the bass player can't make it. It's always the bass player, right? Have you noticed that? That's what I've noticed. No, not to pick on you guys, but let's say the bass player can't make it in this case. It's an instrument that it's not going to be as obvious if the drummer's not there. Well, if I leave all my tracks in my original session, then what I can do is just go turn on the bass part, use my audio interface like the Play Audio 1U, send a separate output of that with bass. Let's press play one more time. I really quickly let you hear this, and listen, now we've added bass back in, so our full band can play. We have the bass part going, either because they're not there or we can't afford to pay the bass player quite yet. So we'll play with this, and then later, hopefully we'll have the full band.
Drums in 2, 3, 4. All in 2, 3, 4.
So there you go. Again, in that example, we added the bass back in because we didn't have a bass player. They weren't able to play this particular show. Using tracks allows the show to go on no matter what. Using tracks allows you to take the ideas, the vision you had in your head when you walked in the studio and replicate that on stage. And honestly, I believe it's with the goal of serving the audience. We're taking our own desires out of this and saying, what's the best scenario for the audience to give them something that's consistent night after night, and it gives us confidence on stage to play and know the songs really, really well. So that's a couple tips and tricks that aren't necessarily gear related that are going to help you take your songs from the studio to the stage. If you want some help with that, if you want some help on what's the best audio interface, the gear you need to make this happen, the best thing you can do is contact your Sweetwater sales engineer or head to sweetwater.com for more information. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care, everybody. Bye.